Hey everyone, I'm Army Gaming, welcome back to my channel, and welcome to the video talking about the VIP breeding events. Now for those of you that have been following me for a while, you know that I will criticize Social Point when they need to be criticized, but I also believe if you're gonna bash someone when they deserve to be bashed, you should also give credit where credit is due. And the VIP breeding event is one of those points where I think everyone definitely needs to give a big thank you to Social Point, because they made it possible to obtain the VIP monsters essentially for free. Now, we can get into a whole debate on whether or not they really are free, because it honestly depends on how lucky you are, but then that's seriously a topic for another video. Let's quickly go over the monsters and what you needed to actually get them. To get Zyla, who's arguably the best VIP monster, you needed Firena and Lamu. Now, as for getting Firena, I think she was in a previous breeding event, and I don't think she was that easy to get, so a lot of players probably didn't have her. But as for Lamu's been breedable in the game for the longest of time. A lot of players have plenty of Lamus. They probably have her at 130 and all, so it's really great that that was one of the monsters required to breed Zyla. As for Hiram the Tenacious, you need an Ultrabot and you need a Thorder, both of which are breedable legendary monsters. And as for breeding Ultrabot, maybe some of you weren't able to breed them just because you didn't have Gold Raw, but as for Thorder, a lot of you should be able to have them because the monsters required to get Thorder are just very basic monsters that anyone can get. As for Kai the Eradicated, you needed a Vampira and a Nabotis. Nabotis, he's breedable, but you need Cthulhu, who isn't breedable. Firena, she was available in a previous event or in a premium monster cell. For Hydrock the Forgotten, Hydrock needed Frostbite, one of the all-time favorite water monsters, and Nemestrinus, who's also breedable, and he's breedable from the ground up. For you very long-term players, he was probably one of the first legendary monsters you got, if not the first legendary monster. It was either him, Rockantium, or Vada Magma. But anyhow, as for Frostbite, well, he's been available a ton of times. 72-hour challenge, a previous maze. Frostbite, hopefully you long-term players should have had him by now. Moving on over to Ulsar the Brave, you needed Rockantium and Vada Magma, both of which are breedable monsters from the ground up. So if anything, every single player had the opportunity to get Ulsar the Brave. As for Uthar the Valiant, you need a Monkey and Worker Hulk is actually also breedable. However, you need Pandalf and Hyperion isn't breedable. So maybe you have him, maybe you don't. Monkey, he hasn't never been breedable, but I believe he was in a previous event or something. Maybe a 72, yeah, he was in a previous 72-hour challenge. So again, some of you players may have had a chance to get him, some of you may not have. As for Volga the Pure, you need a Draza and Goldfield. Goldfield is breedable from the ground up. As for Draza, he isn't, but he's been available in lots of previous events. As for Nox the Condemned, you needed Alex Bone and Arknight. And as for Alex Bone, he was available in a previous race event. He's also been breedable before. And as for Arknight, in order to breed him, you actually need Esthero, who isn't breedable, but has been available plenty of times. And then for Scar the Outcast, you needed two breedable legendary monsters from the ground up, Lord of Atlantis and Dark Ghouls. So in my opinion, this was a super generous event. And the first time they released this event, actually let's get into that. A lot of players thought it was only going to be a one-time VIP breeding event. They actually made it 3 separate times. So you actually had time to prepare for the next breeding event. If you were missing a monster, they actually put the monsters on sale before, that way you could actually purchase them. That way, let's say you wanted Zyla and you didn't have Firena, you could have actually bought her for 249 gems, and hopefully you could have bred Lamu, so then you had a chance to go for Zyla the next time. And initially when Social Point decided to do this, there was a lot of outrage from a lot of different people. They were saying it's not fair that some of us bought the monster, some of us bought multiple monsters to rank them up to 130. There was all these different arguments against why VIP monsters should be breedable. And I found all of those arguments against VIP breeding event to be very odd because I don't see why it mattered. VIP monsters started being released 2 years ago. That means if you bought a VIP monster for $20 or more 2 years ago, you had 2 years to benefit from them. When these monsters first came out, the VIP monsters, they really were the top of the top just because of their Bullrug trait. It made it really hard to counter against them. If they were all on defense, how do you bring a monster in AoE deny? 50% of the time on each monster, it's not going to work. And so obviously those monsters were the top of the line monsters, regardless of all the jokes we make about Ulsar the Brave, Hydrock the Forgotten, they were still top tier monsters just because of how hard it was to deny them. And if you don't deny them and they hit you, you're as good as gone. So anyhow, as the game progresses and more monsters get released, and then they introduce Nemesis monsters, I'm sorry to say that VIP monsters are no longer the top of the line monsters. It's sad, but it's true, they just aren't. So these monsters were released 2 years ago, and they're no longer the top of the line monsters, and people are getting upset that they're available for everyone, for free-to-play players more specifically. Like, come on now, that's not something to be upset about. I mean, that's usually how it is in every sort of business practice. If you want to be the first to get something, you usually have to pay a premium. And after some time passes, that thing, whatever you bought, it kind of becomes obsolete, or at least not as useful as it used to be. And because that's the case, they can lower the price. Or in the case of a game, they could essentially make it free. And you can't see me, but I'm saying free in quotation marks because it's not really free. Because as a player, you still need to decide whether or not you want to spend gems to try to breed the monster. because not everyone is going to get it on their first try. Assuming a 5% chance to breed a VIP monster, well, that means 5 in every 100 tries, or actually 1 in every 20 tries, is going to get you a VIP monster. And so then the thing is, you may get lucky, you may not get lucky, and then it's just a random number generator at that point. And if you're a free-to-play player, you probably don't have a lot of gems saved up, because there's so many different events, so many different things we want to buy. On another thing actually, Social Point is super generous with giving runes to players. There's so many dungeons, there's so many challenges, there's so many Monster Wood videos, that as a free-to-play player, you have a lot of ways to get gems, but then they also release so many sales, Monster Sell Week, Crazy Monster Sell Week, all of these crazy things that it makes it really hard to save gems because you always want to be getting the next best deal. And so with that being said, I never understood why there was so much outrage against VIP breeding events, and furthermore, if you bought these VIP monsters when they first came out, you probably already have them ranked up. So I don't understand why it really hurts you that I don't really understand why someone who's just a casual spender or someone who's been entirely free to play, if they finally have their chance to get one of those VIP monsters they've always wanted to get, a Kai the Eradicator, a Xyla, a Noct the Condemned, and Social Point did it. They made it available for anyone to get, assuming you had these monsters, which I think is pretty darn generous. Like seriously, in the grand scheme of things, a few players having some VIP monsters at level 100 isn't going to have any impact on players that have like level 115s, 120, 130s with high level runes. There's just no impact, so why don't you just let those players play on their own league with their VIP monsters? Like at the end of the day, keep in mind, we are one giant community. We really shouldn't talk in a us versus them kind of style. Instead, we should be like, oh, that's cool, you finally get a chance to get a VIP monster, have fun with them. Meanwhile, we'll have fun with our Nemesis monsters, because those are essentially the new VIP monsters. Anyhow, another thing I really like about this is that players will now finally have a chance to complete the library or different parts of the library. So for example, one thing I thought was always really unfair is that there's an exclusive book section where only people that have VIP monsters can complete. And so for example, since the only way to get VIP monsters were to actually purchase them for money, wow, I would never get this level 8 strength rune or those level 20 keeper cells. Or take a look at page 3, I would never be able to get that level 9 team speed rune or that 35 elementium. And the same applies for Nemesis monster. Look at all these amazing rewards that people that don't spend money on the game are missing out on. Or even if you do spend money on the game, if you didn't buy every single version of a Nemesis monster or something, you're missing out on some free stuff. Which, in the grand scheme of things, it's not that significant, like level 8 rune, level 9 rune. But I'm just saying, it's nice that now as a player, you get to complete your collection. Maybe if you are a collector, you'll be one step closer to getting all 534 monsters. So that's a pretty nice thing. And as far as the breeding events, and this is something I definitely need to touch on, because in my opinion, everyone takes breeding events for granted. For some reason, and maybe you guys can help me understand why, for some reason players feel like they're entitled to monsters? Why? I don't understand. For me, I think of things really logically. The way I see it is that 1, Social Point doesn't need to do any breeding events. And so let's just assume that they don't do breeding events. Players would have nothing to be mad about. We wouldn't be able to say, I spent 500 gems and didn't get a Xyla. I spent 1,000 gems and only got one VIP monster. That's not fair, that's not fair. If they never released a VIP event to start with, you have nothing to get mad about. Like, really think about that. Just because there's a VIP breeding event going on, or any kind of breeding event, you don't have to spend. It's up to you to decide whether or not to spend. And again, sometimes you'll get lucky, sometimes you won't. Let me show you. On the last breeding events, I was able to get, this is off from the team race, I was able to get a Kai the Eradicator, and I spent less than 100 gems. On that last breeding event, I was also able to get a Xyla the Faithful. I got 2 VIP monsters for spending only 100 gems, and that's because in every single breeding event, I always limit myself to how many gems I'm going to spend, because at the end of the day, I know that it isn't a guaranteed. And if I was to waste 1,000 gems and didn't get a VIP monster, honestly, I'd have no one to blame by myself, because once again, things aren't guaranteed. And actually, with the current VIP breeding event, I've spent like 10 gems or so, and I've got Noct the Condemned. I actually got him on my second try, and I'm trying to get a Volga the Pure. And so thanks to Social Point, thanks to the VIP breeding event, I personally have been able to get 4 VIP monsters by spending less than 200 gems, which is a steal. And honestly, in my personal opinion, if you were to spend 500 gems per VIP monster, that's still a great deal, because keep in mind, back when VIP monsters were first released, you would have to spend $20 or more depending on your currency to get that monster. And now the fact that you're able to get them for gems, that's crazy good. But again, going back to the point I was trying to make about breeding events, keep in mind you aren't entitled to a monster. Just because there's a breeding event, that doesn't mean you need to get the monster. If you don't get the monster, that doesn't give you a reason to hate Social Point. It's just bad luck at the end of the day. Just because something is in front of you doesn't mean that you need to go grab it, and if you grab it and it hurts you, that you get to blame that object. That's not how life works. You're a player, you're in control of your own actions, and no matter how tempting it may be to try to go for that, And in this analogy I'm making, it would be just because there's a VIP breeding event right in front of you, that doesn't mean you can go and spend all of your gems and then complain when nothing good happens. Because at the end of the day, it just all comes down to luck. Some people will just happen to be extremely lucky, others will be extremely unlucky. That's just how life is. But the main takeaway from this video is I want to give a huge thank you to Social Point for even making a VIP breeding event. And I seriously hope that everyone watching that was able to partake in this event, that was able to walk away with 1, 2, maybe more VIP monsters. If you did, that's awesome. If not, well then maybe in the future there'll be more breeding events. Maybe in the future there'll be a Nemesis breeding event. Who knows, anything can happen. If you're one of those players that constantly is upset with Social Point that you didn't get a VIP monster, please don't call the breeding events a scam. Please don't say they're unfair, they're greedy, blah blah blah. Because at the end of the day, you're in charge of your own actions and you can decide whether or not to go for breeding events or not. And yeah, that's pretty much going to be it. Thank you Social Point for this amazing VIP breeding event. Hey everyone, I'm Armor Gaming, welcome back to my channel and welcome to another Monster Legends video. And today we are going to talk about the Nemesis dungeon. So as you can see, I am currently crafting one of the Taloses. I'm crafting Talos the Island Protector because I was actually able to beat the Extreme dungeon. Well, I was able to beat the hard and the normal ones also. But I was able to beat the Extreme dungeon using only level 100 monsters. That's right, using only 3 level 100 monsters, which are Hydrock the Forgotten, Scar the Outcast, and Zyla. I know it seems pretty much impossible, but I was able to do it, and I'm going to do my best to explain to you guys how I did it. And so as you can see, all of my monsters have a life rune. Considering in the Extreme dungeon you're facing ranked up monsters that have high level runes and even relics, you need your monsters to stay alive. So if you only have level 100 VIP monsters, they're gonna die in one hit if they don't have a life rune or a team life rune. And even my Zyla has a life rune. Now actually Zyla had a stamina rune, a level 9 stamina rune for the whole time up until the very last node. On that last node you fought a Demise and a Nox, and that Nox, I kid you not, every single turn he would do total obliteration. And then that would just kill all of my monsters. That would kill my Zyla. She only had like 22k life, and total obliteration took away 27k life. And then sometimes he would do that skill where he kills an ally and gets double damage, and no matter what, I could not. Or actually, Demise goes first, I believe. Sometimes Demise would do Strength from Beyond, then total obliteration would be 52k damage, so I could not keep Zyla alive. And normally, the reason I have Hydrock is because Hydrock would go first and give a shield to my team, but in this case, they were still faster than me. So it was so hard to win with Zyla with a stamina rune, and so you really have to play around with the runes. And I honestly do love the Nemesis dungeons because they are very challenging and they're also rewarding. Aside from getting enough cells to be able to craft the new Nemesis monster, you kind of get that bragging rights of being able to say, ha, I beat that difficult Nemesis dungeon, I beat it on extreme difficulty, I don't even have the best monsters, the best runes, I don't even have the best relics, but I was still able to beat them. So anyhow, we're specifically going to talk about the team I used and the strategy I used, and then I think I'm going to make a separate video talking about the strength and weaknesses of all the different VIP monsters and how you could best utilize them in the Nemesis dungeon. With that being said, let's take a look at Hydrock the Forgotten. So for the Forgotten, I did 2 speed and a life rune. I actually had to pay to get that 3rd rune slot unlocked, and it was vital that he had 2 speed runes because I needed him to go after the enemy fastest monster or after 2 of their fastest monsters because I needed to put up the shield. Cold Water Shield. It says gives a 30% shield to all targets. It's actually a 50% shield. This was actually very crucial so that my teammates could stay alive. And then I also run Ambient Pressure because it has a bleeding. If you can land bleeding on one of the enemy monsters, that's perfect because it takes away some of their life and it also reduces their damage output. And then Lost Anchors is a skill I gave him. He used to have, not this one, he used to have Decompression because it's a strong special based attack with a 1 turn cooldown. However, I decided to give him Lost Anchors. I think I messed up. I was actually supposed to give him his other AoE skill. What is it? It's not that. Deals heavy. Nope, it's not that either. Actually, Old Anchor, no. Decompression, Ancient Anchors. I was actually supposed to give him Ancient Anchors, which is actually his like 45 water-based AoE, instead of Lost Anchors, which is probably like skills group 1 or 2. But at the same time, it's not that bad that I did this, because Lost Anchors cost less stamina, and it essentially does the same thing, which it attacks all of the enemy monsters. And the reason it was crucial for me to give him an AoE skill is because you face a lot of monsters that drain your stamina when they're hit. They have a lot of the Trap Relic or the Mask Relic, whichever relic it is that drains your stamina upon getting hits. So normally what I would do in a lot of situations where let's say the enemy monster had that relic that required them to get hit, it was like when this monster gets hit, the attacking enemy monster loses 152 stamina. Great, I would attack with Hydrock, then I would attack with Scar, and then my Zyla was able to attack freely and kill that monster without losing all of her stamina. So that was one strategy I utilized. And then Cold Water Wall I think was vital for me winning. This gives him a 100% shield. It says a 50%. It's actually a 100% shield. And with his high life, with his life of 63,000, this made him have over 120k life. And so there was a lot of battles where it was actually a one-on-one. And thanks to two of his shield skills, Cold Water Wall and Cold Water Shield, and then at the time I was running the single special based hit and ambient pressure, I was able to take out the enemy monster. So definitely needed this monster. And as for relics, I honestly just gave him the best I had. For the bronze, I think the charge mask is really good. After being hit, if warrior's life is below 50%, it gains 33 points of stamina. Once again, considering there are so many enemy monsters that it's just going to drain all of your stamina, you need relics to recover your stamina. I also gave him the Major Earth Shackling Shield. If any ally is stunned, it gains 2,260 points of stamina. There was lots of times when the enemy immobilizer goes first. When you face Ruby and Ruby stuns you, that's great, you get a free shield. And your teammates, if they're stunned, they also get a free shield. So I get shield and I get stamina. That's exactly what you want going into these Nemesis dungeons. Let's take a look at Scar, who was definitely vital for me winning. I originally ran him with the full rainbow. He had a single life rune and then speed and strength. However, I did switch out the full life for a team life just because I was trying to make sure that Zyla stayed alive, specifically for that last battle. I was able to go up to 99%, 98, whatever it is, of the extreme dungeon with him running full rainbow with a single life. As for skills, I run Exile Bleed. This skill was vital because it has no cooldown, and there were a lot of times where he got hit with cooldowns activated. When I was fighting against a dungeon master, when I was fighting against Ruby and she did Mineral Blood, so at least I had a skill to use, and by having that skill to use, I was able to utilize that combo I said, where you attack the enemy monster that drains your stamina. That way my Zyla wouldn't get her stamina drained. Witchcraft Area is just a phenomenal skill, and this is where random luck just plays into it. There were some battles where I kept losing, but then there was that one battle where I did Witchcraft Area. It drained the Talos's stamina. It possessed the two enemy monsters on the sidelines, and then they attacked themselves. Talos had to recharge, and it was like all the stars aligned and I was able to win. It's glorious. If you have Scar, just play around with Witchcraft Area and eventually you'll get lucky and you'll win even the toughest of nodes. Outcast Charge was just a very powerful skill. It also applies bleeding. That's the good thing about both of these. Applies bleeding, which applies a DOT to the enemy monster. They lose a certain amount of life and their damage output is reduced. Amplified Power, also very significant, especially if you're facing monsters that are going to drain your stamina. This recovers your stamina, gives you double damage and increased accuracy. And it also allowed me to abuse the double churn glitch, which definitely helped me out win a lot of the nodes. Anyhow, as for relics, I was able to give him an energy mask. After being hit, he gains 30 points of stamina. And you want to make sure you can gain at least 30 points of stamina to be able to use Exile Bleed or Amplified Power. So it's not just about giving your monster a relic, it's about giving them a relic where they can at least use a skill. And then I also gave him the Energizer Staff. When the turn starts, if any ally stamina is below 25%, gives 31 points of stamina to targets. So once again, recovering your stamina is vital because a lot of the time, the enemy monster will be faster, they'll have the Ablation Staff, and they'll just drain your stamina upon attacking you. So you need a way to recover your stamina, and the staffs are really the best way to go, or the masks. And then let's talk about Zyla. Like I said, she was running strength, stamina, and speed, but I had to give her life just because I could not beat that last node. Even as many times as I tried, it was impossible. So like the cool thing about fighting Nox is that he pretty much kills half of his team. Sometimes he will kill a teammate and then almost the rest of his teammates. So if you can just stay alive and then just kill the enemy monster, you got this. So I had to give her a life rune. For skills, super obvious, fast chains, agony chains, affliction chains, and havoc. And this really is just a skill set you should go with. There's some times when you'll fight Zyla, you know, you can just, if she's the main threat, finish her off with havoc. If you get hit with cooldowns activated, you have fast chains, then you can do agony chains and affliction chains, and then just switch off your skills. Like, she really is one of the more powerful monsters. As long as you can keep her alive in these dungeons, she can help you beat most of the dungeon. And so here's the funny thing about me. I actually made it to like 50% or 60% without using any relics on my monsters, any good relics. Everything you saw in Hydrock and Scar, that was me upgrading my relics. I actually had 40 chests in my reliquary, and I'm like, wait a minute, I should open them because I might get something good. And I actually did get something good. I got the one relic I needed for Zyla, and I even leveled it up to 17. The Charging Banner. When turn starts, if any ally stamina is below 25%, gives 49 points of stamina to all allies. If you have Zyla and the Charging Banner, you need to equip it. This is what allowed me to beat most of the nodes. I got stuck on a node with like the Undertaker. No, I got stuck on a node with Oros. They were just so hard to kill. They would drain my stamina. Even after I exhausted everything, I couldn't kill them. But then I remembered about all the chests I hadn't opened. I got the charging banner. I'm like, yes, thank you. I equipped it on Zyla, and then I leveled it up. At first I did it to level 10, and then that still was enough. So I fed more material into it, then I got it to level 17, 49 points of stamina, perfect. And this allowed me, like, you definitely need charging banner on Zyla. And because I was able to give her the charging banner, you actually don't even really need the stamina rune, which is why I was able to change it to a life rune. And yeah, that's essentially how I was able to pull it off. Some advice I can give you guys is, first of all, keep in mind that these Nemesis dungeons, we've never had a Nemesis dungeon. There was never a way for a free-to-play player, essentially, to get a Nemesis monster. And now we have a chance. Now, the thing is that it is super difficult, but hey, it's better than not having a chance, right? At least that's the way I see it. It's better than just saying, sorry, you have to pay $20. Now we got these VIP breeding events, and then we got the chance to get the Nemesis monster during this event. So instead of complaining, in my personal opinion, no matter how hard it is, I think you should just try your best and go for it. You never know. Don't let someone tell you that you can't beat it unless you have ranked up monsters, level X runes, blah blah blah. Just try your best. Especially right now that we have the double auto attack glitch. Utilize that. I definitely utilize it a lot. And then just keep in mind that luck plays a super huge role in the game. There are so many nodes that I beat just with dumb luck alone. Like I said, Scar, Witchcraft Area, landing the exact right thing I needed him to land. The enemy monster sometime doing the dumbest thing, you know, Nox killing half of his team. Sometimes he did his ultimate, or sometimes one of the enemy monsters did their ultimate, and I was like, yes, thank you. Sometimes Zyla was like one hit away from dying, the enemy attacks, and they miss. Like, there was so much dumb luck that just played into me being able to beat the extreme dungeon, but hey, I'll take it. If you do enough battles, eventually you will get lucky. Man, there was actually a battle where you fight Alex Bone, you fight Taiga, and you fight some other monster. And a lot of times, Alex Bone and Taiga, they would both do their evasion skill essentially. Taiga doesn't have evasion, he has camouflage. But anyhow, I got into one battle where I think Alex did AoE stun, and it missed on all my monsters. I took damage, but they didn't get stunned. And then Taiga did his camouflage skill, and I was like, great, I'm gonna lose again. So then I think I attacked with Hydrox, set up the bleeding, and then with Scar, I did Witchcraft Area. And to my surprise, I immobilized Alex, I did something to the third monster, and I possessed Taiga. And then with Zyla, I was able to kill that third monster. I think I was able to damage Alex Bone quite a good amount to where Taiga finished him off. And I was like, thank you, this could not have gone any better. So I'll be the first to admit that sometimes just dumb luck is all you need. You do definitely need the right rune setups. You gotta work with what you have, honestly. If you don't have Zyla, don't think you can't beat it. There's other amazing combos you can pull off. If you have Volgarr the Pure, I think you're in a really great position. If you have Nox the Condemned, you're also in a really great position. If you have 3 Scars, do Witchcraft Area with every single one of them and just hope you get lucky. Like, honestly, just the most important thing is that you have fun. Like I said, just keep in that mindset that before, free-to-play players never had a chance to get a Nemesis monster. And so even if you don't get it, you're not really missing out, because originally you would have had to pay $30, $20. And actually, that's another thing, the chests in this event. Right now there aren't any chests, but when they do sell the chests, it was $7 for a 50% chance to get 50 cells. Which means if you're able to be the normal and the hard dungeons, I believe you get 30 cells, maybe 20 cells. So maybe you need to go a bit into extreme. But it is possible for you to get almost enough cells to where you only need to buy 1 chest, and if you're lucky, for $7, combined with the cells you got from the dungeons, you could have yourself a Nemesis monster, which definitely beats paying, what, $30? And I mean, of course, the cells aren't guaranteed, it's only a 50% chance, but statistically, if you were to buy 2 chests, you would get those 50 cells. So at the very most, it'd cost you $14. And then, if you're just extremely lucky and you happen to buy 2 chests, you could get a Nemesis monster even without beating any dungeons for just $14, which is a way better deal than spending $30. And then, assuming you're extremely unlucky, right? Statistically speaking, you should have to buy 4 chests to guarantee those 100 cells. But then again, you might be lucky and it might just cost you 14, it might cost you 21. There's so many factors, but I think overall, it would be cheaper than just buying the Nemesis monster straight out. And I am so looking forward to the last Nemesis dungeon because I just got Nox the Condemned. So I'm going to be able to use that Total Obliteration combo. I'm trying to get Volgarr the Pure, because if you get Volgarr the Pure, he can make it so you don't take any damage except from light attacks. So if you have Volgarr the Pure running 3 speed runes, Nox the Condemned running 2 team speed and a strength, or maybe 1 team speed and 2 strength, and then a third VIP running 3 team speed. So Volgarr goes first, set up that protection against your team, Doesn't matter what the enemy monsters are. If it's a Xyla, a Voltic, whatever, if they attack you, you're not going to be taking any damage. Then when Nox goes, he can sacrifice one of his teammates, get double damage, do total obliteration, and then your remaining monster won't take any damage thanks to the shield from Volgar the Pure, and then Nox is going to be able to obliterate the enemy team. That's at least a plan. Again, there's so many different VIPs that you can utilize some strategy, so I'm thinking of making a separate video talking about the pros and cons of each VIP monster and what you should do with them if you're trying to take on the Nemesis dungeon. But I hope this video helped out. I'm also going to be releasing another video showing you guys all of my attempts, my failed attempts, my successful attempts, and that's going to be a lot of fun. I really hope you guys like it. But yeah, I just wanted to make this video out there for two things. One, to say, don't give up on the Nemesis dungeon. Have fun with it. That's the most important part. It's extremely challenging and I love it. And I want to give a huge thanks to Social Point for making it possible for players to get the VIP monsters and the Nemesis monster, the last Nemesis monster. That being said, I'm Armor Gaming. Thank you all for watching, and I will see you all next time.